Good morning. Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Tom. This is Data Talks Live. My goal here is to cut through the spin, drop the noise, and get to the data-driven core of what's actually happening. Today, I want to look at a paradox that's shaping the modern economy. We're pouring billions into AI and the data center infrastructure, yet GDP growth has slowed. And at the same time, those same AI systems are now the #1 source of corporate data breaches. Let's look at the numbers and see what's really going on. AI is the largest data leak vector, according to a new Layer X Enterprise AI and SaaS data security report covered by the Hacker News in October 2025. 45% of enterprise employees are already using generative AI tools on the job. 43% use ChatGPT directly, and AI now actively accounts for 11% of all corporate AI traffic. Here's the problem: 67% of that happens to be through unmanaged personal accounts. 77% of employees paste data into AI prompts. 82% of those pastes come from personal logins, and up to 40% of uploaded files contain sensitive data, PII, PCI, or customer content. If you're CISO, that's a nightmare. The majority of leaks are not from uploads, but from copy-paste events that bypass the normal data loss prevention systems. Layer X calls it a governance collapse. Roughly 71% of CRM logins and 83% of ERP logins aren't even federated, meaning corporate credentials aren't under single sign-on control. So the data risk is scaling at the same exponential rate as AI adoption. Why does this matter economically? Because data loss hits both compliance and cost productivity. Each major breach averages $4.45 million in direct costs, according to IBM's 2025 report. And if even 1% of companies incur that once per year, that's $4 to $5 billion in annual drag on output, before counting reputational loss and downtime. AI increases output per worker, but it also raises the cost of securing that output. That trade-off is where the new productivity frontier will be won or lost. So next today, I want to talk about Virginia's data center boom. Meanwhile, on the infrastructure side, Business Insider reports that Northern Virginia is in the middle of the largest data center construction boom in the world. More than 22 million square feet of new capacity is under construction. Power demand from Virginia's data center corridor is projected to double from 3.5 to 7 gigawatts within 5 years. On web services alone, AWS is building 8 new campuses, presenting over $35 billion in investment. Local utilities are forecasting the need for 2 new 500 kV transmission lines just to keep up. This isn't hypothetical. Those data centers are real capital formation: cranes, steel, concrete, and substations. But there's a catch. Energy and labor constraints are inflating costs. Dominion Energy estimates that every gigawatt of new data center load requires about $2 billion in grid upgrades. If you multiply that by the projected 3.5 gigawatt increase, you get $7 billion in infrastructure spend just to deliver electrons. That capital doesn't instantly translate into GDP because the assets take years to go live. You can see the lag in the macro numbers. Next today, I want to talk about GDP growth. So Fortune reported that Harvard economist Jason Fruman analyzed the U.S. GDP data and found that the first half of 2025 posted zero real growth. Zero, despite record investment in AI and data centers. How can this happen? Fruman's decomposition shows non-residential fixed investment, where data centers sit, rose about 9% annually. But consumer spending grew only 0.3%, and exports fell 1.5%. So the boom in capital intensive but not productive. So the boom is capital intensive but not productivity intensive. Billions in servers aren't producing new consumer goods or services yet. They're building capacity but not output. Economically, we're seeing a front-loaded investment cycle: cost now, productivity later. Until AI-driven efficiency gains hit the labor and service sectors, the net macro effect rounds to zero. If you plot GDP versus AI sector capex since 2022, correlation is near zero. That doesn't mean AI won't drive growth. It means it hasn't yet. So let's put these three threads together. AI adoption is massive. Nearly half the workforce uses it daily. Infrastructure is exploding. Tens of millions of square feet, gigawatts of new power. But GDP hasn't moved. Why? Because we're investing in potential, not immediate output, and paying the hidden costs of security and energy in the meantime. If new data centers average 200 megawatts and Virginia alone adds 3.5 gigawatts, that's equivalent to adding the power load of 3 million U.S. homes, most of it continuous. Multiply that nationally, and you're talking tens of billions in new generation requirements, whether from gas, renewables, or nuclear small modular reactors. From a systems perspective, AI is now a net consumer of power and data, not yet a net creator of productivity. And that asymmetry explains the paradox: visible investment, invisible growth. And the security numbers make it worse. If 77% of users are leaking data, every productivity gain has a shadow cost in remediation and compliance. So what happens next? In the short term, next 12 months, you should expect flat or modest GDP as infrastructure spending offsets energy and security drag. In the medium term, the next 2 to 3 years, once those Virginia and Texas campuses go online, compute capacity could double, enabling the next wave of AI-assisted productivity. The security imperative: enterprises must treat AI as a regulated domain, federated logins, action-based DLP, and real-time monitoring, or the governance collapse will curb the gains. And on the energy frontier, whether through small nuclear reactors, advanced grid coordination, or waste heat recycling, the power cost of intelligence has to drop or margins will compress. The signal across all three stories is consistent. AI has escaped the lab and entered every enterprise. The physical world, power grids, real estate, regulation is scrambling to keep up. The macro data shows the limits of hype: trillion-dollar capex, zero GDP growth, and a rising tide of data leak risk. We're living in the early stages of a new industrial revolution where inputs, data, energy, and capital are growing faster than outputs. Cutting through the spin, recognizing that AI is not magic. It's infrastructure, and infrastructure always takes time to pay off. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Tom. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and always seek what the numbers actually say.